Today we want to talk about engagement principles. These principles are absolutely paramount to all optimal development. For children who've come from difficult circumstances, they're even more important. Engagement principles empower trust, they empower connection, and in fact, they empower learning. So we want to talk about several different engagement principles. We will talk about playful engagement, which is the mode that we use with children, where our voice is playful, our manner is playful. This is very disarming for the fear systems. And in this context, children learn to trust, and the capacity for learning soars. In this lesson, we also want to talk about authoritative voice. Now, because our voice is most often playful, some adults find it difficult to realize how we can manage difficult behavior. We will move from a playful tone into an authoritative tone, in which the child knows not that we'll do them harm, but that we intend for them to do what we've asked. We'll show you an example of this shortly. We'll talk today about another aspect of engagement, which is behavioral matching, in which I may overtly or covertly match the child's eye contact. I may match if they're on the ground. I may sit cross Indian leg style with the child. If they're standing on one leg, I may lean towards one leg. And so there's a subtle, I'm here for you, I'm connected for you. This is actually a powerful principle for all of development when a child feels seen by the adult in their life. We'll talk today also about valuing eye contact and about the power of eye contact. Without a doubt, scientists have discovered dramatic changes in the brain chemistry that occur when adults make valuing eye contact with children. One of the most significant changes is a slope in dopamine. Dopamine is involved in joy, connection. It's also profoundly involved in learning. If a child has a learning experience while dopamine is gently elevated, they can retain and remember. It's a powerful outcome for just simply making valuing eye contact. And then finally, we'll talk about healthy touch. We all know from research on touch that a small amount of touch, a simple prompt to the chin, a simple 2-second touch to the shoulder, a high five, any various form of touch can bring about significant connections. And so we'll show you in clips expressions of each of these principles. In the first clip, we'll show you a young woman in our camp for at-risk children who will be working with an 8-year-old. This child has a history of harm prenatally and postnatally, and also has very high-risk behaviors, having already had psychiatric hospitalizations and numerous psychotropic medication trials. So watch for the tone of voice, the authority of the voice. Watch for eye contact and a mild to moderate use of touch in this clip.
Alexis, stop.
You need something?
Use your words.
Gum.
Full sentence.
I want some more gum. And I want a brush.
You would like some more gum, and you would like a brush. What kind of brush are you talking about? She wants the skin. Oh, you know what? Those brushes aren't for us to play with. I bet we could find something different, though. And we can definitely get some gum. Did you ask your buddy? Can I see you ask your buddy?
Can I have some more gum?
Yes, you may. Okay, now stop, and you're going to walk together. Okay?
In that clip, you will notice that the adult, who was a co-director in the camp, spoke to the child with a voice of authority. It was not a cruel voice, it was not a harsh voice, it was not a threatening voice. And to modulate that voice, she behaviorally matched this child bending over into her range of vision. So you saw a behavior match. You saw valuing eye contact, even though this was a disciplinary interaction, a corrective, if you will, interaction. And this adult did a fine job of using a firm voice, clean, crisp, clear, but firm, in order to help this youngster come back into a regulatory state. You saw then that her camp buddy in the other red shirt put her hand on her shoulder, and then guided her back to connection as they went on to their activities. So in each of these cases, there's predominantly authoritative voice here, but you see many of the other engagement principles even in a corrective episode. In the next episode, we'll show you another child who's entering the camp, and we will see a clip of the attachment ritual. And again, here you will notice touch. Again, here you will notice behavioral matching. You'll notice eye contact. Largely here, you'll see also playful engagement. So here's the same youngster coming into camp.
You doing all right? Okay. Okay, I'm glad to see you. Let's ask Mama 2 questions. I'm glad you all got here. When I heard Dylan was sick, I thought I might not get to see this girl, and I was going to be sad. Can we put these things down and ask Mama 2 questions? And, there's a buddy looking for you. There's somebody you know.
Did you bring your granddaughter's clothes?
Do you think I would forget? My granddaughter's dressed up close when I promised
Did you bring that book?
I've got a purple book. It's a little too big, and you're going to have to choose if you want the book. She's keeping me in line, isn't she? I got a bag full of dress-up clothes. All right. 2 hands right here. Okay? Let's ask Mama 2 questions.
Lindsay here?
Is Lindsay here? Not yet. You're here before her. But she'll be here in a minute, I bet. Now, let me tell you this one thing. There's a possibility that she is not well, too. I don't know if Dylan is just too tired. But, Dylan's not well this morning. But Lindsay should be here in a minute. I'm going to guess she'll be here. Okay? But if not, we'll find somebody to play with. Okay? You're ready for dress?
Friend. I just met her.
I know, you made good friends, didn't you? And y'all can play dress up.
I shared my lunch with
I know they shared lunches like
Yeah,
buddies.
she told me.
Yeah, they were good together. They were real kind with each other. I was really, really excited to see them. All right. Would you look at me when I ask Mom when she answers, okay? All right. Is it all right for us to be the boss while you're gone today for your daughter?
Yes.
Would Mama say? Yes, I thought she would. And if she asks for a hug, maybe we give her a hug.
Yes.
All right. What did Mama say? You thought she would, didn't you? All right. You want to tell Mama goodbye?
Mama.
And that we'll see her later today?
I might be here around 3-something because I haven't come out to this area
Oh,
or something else.
good. Yeah, a lot of the parents are here at 3. We're really wrapped up at 3. It's just decompression after that.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you. I don't know if the kids are warm because they've been in the sunshine a lot. We've been getting a lot of sun, but she feels a little warm too. So we're going to keep an eye on you. Hey, let me see your eyes, please. If your tummy, where'd the eyes go? If you need anything or you need water or your tummy doesn't feel good, will you tell Buddy? All right. Would you like to look at some dressed up clothes? Okay. How about take your things back there and go do the motor lab, and then I'm going to come get you a bag of dress up clothes, okay? Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Ooh, I love that. Fair enough. I'll see you in a minute.
Of interest in this clip, in our context, we're allowed to make significant healthy touch. This is the entry point to our camp each morning, where parents hand off the children to the camp staff, and we ask for permission to give the children a hug if they ask for it, and we ask permission to be the boss of the child and protect them and care for them during the day. This is the transition by which we help the children enter into and leave our camp environment. Now, we're able to give a significant amount of touch, and so we can do hugs. In some environments where adults serve children, that's prohibited, but a touch on the cheek, a touch on the chin, a touch on the shoulder is still a powerful motivator. You saw a number of times where I touched this child's chin to ask her to give me eyes. And again, I'm looking for valuing eye contact. Little children who don't come from hard places typically learn to make good eye contact, but children who've been harmed have to be taught. You also saw when I said fair enough, she did a verbal match back with me. I had behaviorally matched her. You saw I stood in front of her, held her hand, looked into her eyes, and she responded in kind. And then when I asked her a question and I said, is that fair enough? And she matched me back and said, fair enough. So here you'll see with this beautiful child a number of the engagement principles as we help her transition into camp. Now, the next clip is a different child, a little boy, who has neurological insult from birth. And this little boy who is profoundly developmental delayed. And what you're going to see is that it's going to take a good bit of work to get eye contact. Now, during 1 week of our work with children, if we have a 3 or 4 week camp, during 1 week, we will use tokens just to accelerate learning. They're a very minor part of our program, but for some children, they help us get the attention for learning. So here you'll see another attachment ritual.
Oh, Miss Laura's talking to you right over here. Look, hey, how was your weekend? Good. Good? What did you do? Can I see your eyes? Can I see your eyes? What?
Swimming.
You went swimming? Wow. These are distracting you, I know, aren't they? Can I see your eyes, though?
So,
That was such good
that
eye
was great eyes. So did you practice showing respect this weekend? Let's see eyes, buddy.
Sure.
Did you? Oh, those are awful good eyes. Oh, yeah.
He got really good at taking those timeouts right away without counting, and he had a whole bunch of them.
Did we? Okay. Well, if he went without counting, that's pretty good.
He did. It didn't take him very long to adjust either.
Wow.
He knew that when we said something that he was going to get a timeout right away if he didn't do it, which was great.
Good listening, Brendan.
And did he do something else that you thought he worked on pretty good this weekend?
He did a good job of sharing. We got a new,
Did he really?
it's like a slip and slide, but it has a big inflatable slide thing too that both Brendan and Gracie liked
sure
a lot.
he
And they
Nice.
didn't want to share with the other one, but he did a good job of sharing.
Did you share, buddy?
Great sharing, buddy.
And we got a bean pull and a rice bucket, and he did a good job of sharing with
Did he
that.
really?
He did.
Sharing? That's so good.
All right. So is that 5, teacher? Miss Lauren, is that, did he? Oh, we got one more? Can you think of one more thing?
What do you think you did good this weekend?
That's worth it right there.
Tell me what you did good this weekend. What good choices did you make?
I feel squishy.
He did, and he slept all night long,
Did you
every
really?
night.
Woo.
Mhm.
That's worth something, isn't it?
He did, all night.
Yeah. He's like loaded up. We're going to put new stuff in the store.
He's got more in this pocket right here too, and the shorts are clean that you
Good.
let us borrow are in here
Awesome.
too, and then
Awesome.
the questionnaires are in there as well.
Awesome. Well, let's do our attachment questions with Mama.
They're in
And
here.
Miss Lauren
They're
is
in
going to ask you this morning, buddy.
They're in here. They're in here. You can
Let's look
right
at
now,
look at
Miss
Miss Lauren
Your
while she
hands,
asks
buddy.
question.
Thank you. I'll just hold this one like that. Can I see your eyes?
Yeah, you're not getting those.
Those are great eyes, buddy. I'm going to ask your mom some questions, okay? Is it okay if we're the boss of Brendan today?
Oh, wait,
While you're
Brendan.
gone?
Wait, Brendan. Look at my
Yes,
eyes.
you're
Look at my eyes so you know what I'm
Soaking.
saying. Right here. Yes, they can be the boss of you.
Great.
Oh,
And
those were nice, didn't you think?
yeah, those are great. Can I see your eyes while I ask this? Thank you, sir. And is it okay if Brendan wants a hug that we can give him a hug?
Yes.
Right
You want to give him that one?
Look, is there one right there?
Is there one right there?
Can you
Do you
get it?
think we should get?
Oh.
my gosh, that's awesome.
Find one.
What was Mama's answer?
What'd she say? Can we give you a hug?
Yes, they can
All
give you a
right,
hug.
buddy.
Definitely. Are you going to stay this morning?
Yes, if that's
Awesome.
okay.
Yes, we love it. Can you tell Mama we're going to go do crash and bump?
Oh, yeah.
In this episode, you saw several adults working very diligently in one of the earliest days of our summer intervention camp. We're doing things like making eye contact more keenly visible to him by giving tokens. There's a playful interaction where I put a token in his buddy's hair so he looks up at her eyes. You'll hear the adults saying, "Can I see your eyes? Let's see those great eyes, buddy. Please look at Miss Lauren." So what you see is that in the beginning, with the higher risk children, it's going to take significant effort to teach them to look, and in particular with children like this who have developmental delays that are profound. But over the days that we work with a child, we see greater and greater eye contact, and with that eye contact comes connection, and ultimately comes learning. In the next clip, you will see a beautiful little child who had come to us from another state. I spent a day working with her and her parents. And in this clip, you'll see what we would call playful engagement, in which we're trying to begin to replace for this child what she missed spending several years in a Chinese orphanage. And so the looking into someone's eyes and seeing that I'm beautiful, looking into someone's eyes and seeing in their eyes how precious I am, is an experience that was missed by many children. Whether a biological mother was depressed and couldn't hold the child, maybe a mother had to go to work and had to leave a child in daycare where there were many children, or in the case of this child, orphanage-reared child, or even a child from neglect or abuse, most probably didn't receive the type of valuing eye contact and playful engagement that would have occurred naturally in that early experience. So here you'll see this youngster looking into a mirror and seeing herself.
Look at his face. Is that a great kid? Yeah. Before she came to you, she didn't get this preciousness. And we're going to keep mirrors around her. We're going to walk to the bathroom mirror when we see just a glimmer of what we call real child. Oh, you like that, girl?
I kissed myself.
Did you kiss yourself? Because you're so cute. Is that a precious? Oh, yeah. Look how precious is that girl.
I kissed my face.
You did, didn't you? And you know what? This is the real girl that Mommy and Daddy know, and Benjamin knows, a real girl. This is a beautiful child.
Me.
It's Chloe. What does Chloe mean? Or what does her name mean? Do you know?
I think it means blossom.
Yeah, blossom.
Ooh, a blossom like a beautiful flower. Oh my goodness, is that who you are? Yes, it is.
This little one, you could see, looked into the mirror, seeing herself and smiling and turning her little head with joy as she looked at herself. This is the birthright of every child that's born into a loving home. But too many of our children missed this early experience. We know that when we are playful with our little ones, that their brain is designed to give attention to that playful voice we call playful engagement. We know that the brain of a developing child is designed to open to a playful voice and to play, which is why all parents naturally, intuitively do peekaboo games, and this little piggy went to market with little toes. For children of all ages, high school children as well as young children, there are times when a simple playful statement or a playful act, playful engagement in many, many, many forms, will open their spirit, will open their mind, and will empower their ability to connect and to learn. It seems very, very simple, but these things are profound developmental truths. Again, you may have noticed another chin prompt in which we just feather touch the child's chin and encourage them to look at our eyes. Over a very few days, children just learn to look into our eyes. And each time that they do, they see their value. And when children know who they are, and when children know by looking into our eyes that they're precious, the world becomes their oyster, and they can believe in themselves to do and to learn and to be. The next activity is a metronome activity that we sometimes do with children we serve. In this activity, children will have that resonant experience that is an optimal developmental experience. I feel felt, I feel heard, I feel seen. Each child gets to choose a speed on the metronome, and then they move their hands back and forth, and the entire group moves with them to the speed of the metronome that they've chosen.
Okay, guys. Woo! Look around. Everybody's feeling the same thing. You see everybody's feeling what you're feeling? Woohoo! Everybody feels what you're feeling. Look, and you see around, everybody's doing the same thing. We have to go fast. We have to pretty fast. Are we doing it together now? Woohoo! All right, let's give Dylan a hand. All right, push it all the way down, please. Can you push that all the way down? All right, are you ready?
What are we doing?
All right, that's great. Let's give Lindsay a hand.
So this powerful 2 or 3 minute activity gives a child a great sense of resonance from their environment, feeling seen, feeling heard. Now, this activity is with children under the age of 10, but we also use these engagement principles with adolescents and children 18. In the next clip, you will see a group activity with adolescents, and you will see playful engagement and the engagement principles at work in teaching a skill for life. So here you'll see nurture group.
Pair off like by teams and make a skit, and you can do it with the puppets or your body. So would you practice one with me, and I'll show you how we'll do it? So we're going to demonstrate. My partner and I are going to demonstrate. So like, let's see. First we're going to do no respect, and then we're going to do respect, okay? So would you like to be the parent or the child or the staff worker or the what would you like to be? Can you think of something? So
You
let me
be a
think.
good staff. Be a Smurf.
You want to be the staff and tell me it's time to. You want to be the staff and tell me it's time to go to bed.
Okay.
Okay. Or what's the worst thing about the day? What's the hardest thing for y'all
Do your
to
chore.
do? Your oh, okay.
Chore.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, waking up. Waking up, actually, yeah.
Is waking up the hardest?
Yeah. This
Do
house
your
is not.
chores.
This house is not a morning house.
That's great. So she's going to be staff person, and she's going to tell me it's time to get up for
Breakfast.
For breakfast, and I'm going to first be disrespectful, no respect, and then she'll give me a redo, a chance to do it right, and then I'll try it with respect. Okay. So, come on, bring it on.
Oh, am I supposed to be rude? too?
You're the staff. No. You're going to be polite because you're
Okay.
the staff. I get to be mouthy.
It's time to get up for breakfast.
I don't think so. But thanks for trying. Was that mouthy enough?
That's what you get.
Not mouthy enough?
No, not for
Okay.
this house.
Okay. What should I do to make it better?
That's her.
What's better? What's better?
Get out of my room. It's not 10 o'clock yet.
Okay. Give me a chance to do that one, okay?
You need to get up for breakfast.
Get out of my face. It's not 10 o'clock yet. I'll see you for lunch.
There you go.
Okay? Is that pretty mouthy?
So in this clip, what you see is the first part of a script practice. And what you'll see is that we practice not using the engagement principles first, not using good eyes, not using good voice, not using good body language. And then after that, then we will practice trying it again with respect. In even teaching children, though, you see that we're using playful engagement. Again, we cannot emphasize too frequently that play brings about a brain that is open to learning, and it disarms the fear systems that block learning and that block connection. Of interest, this 17-year-old young woman got to be the one who practiced authoritative voice. So she's the one saying, "It's time for you to get up." And in the behavioral redo, she would be the one to say, "Okay, I'll make a compromise, but you'll need to keep your promise." So she's the one practicing actually being authoritative in her tone. Some adults have the impression that you use engagement principles when you're being playful, but not when you need to be firm. And we would assert that you use engagement principles even when you're firm. One of our values is to correct without breaking the connection. Now, remember that research is replete with examples of the vast proportion of communication that comes through nonverbals. So the tone of my voice, whether or not my body language shows respect or regard, is 90 to 95% of communication according to researchers, and virtually 5% of those words are the communication vehicle. My colleague Dave Cross tells the story of a friend who had a dog, a hunting dog, and he would be in the presence of his friend who is the master of the dog, and his friend would be using a playful voice and making valuing eye contact with his dog, and would be saying in a playful voice something along the lines of, "Why, you're the most worthless hunting dog anybody ever had. You couldn't catch a rabbit if your life depended on it." But because his eyes were valuing and his voice was playful, David said that this old hunting dog would be wagging its tail and licking its master's hand because the communication came across in a way that he was open to. In this last video clip, we want to show one more of the transition rituals in the morning. This is a very high-risk child in the attachment ritual with his mother. What you'll see is very hard for him to give eye contact, and it's initially very difficult to gain trust. And you'll see in this early clip, this first day of camp, that we need to work to engage. We need to work to be playful, that we need to work to get eye contact. But over the coming days, those things would become automatic if we're persistent.
First thing in the morning is the attachment ritual. And then we'll settle in. And Angie, will you substitute for everybody? Here, let me see hands for just a minute, okay? Okay. Let me put this on.
Yes.
Come here, buddy. Come here, Zane. We're going to ask 2 questions, and then we're going to go find some toys to play with. Okay? Why don't you sit down and put it in your lap? Sure. Here, go. Are you going to play with us today? Let me see eyes, guy. Oh, my goodness.
You can take this out. You want to take this out?
Okay. So, Zane, let me see eyes, big boy, for just about a half a minute. Can you use words and tell me what you need? Would you rather not make eye contact with me yet? Hey, look, how about doing it this way? How about doing this? Like that. Okay. Mommy, I'm going to ask. Oh, perfect. Good. Compromised. We'll do it with eyes as he's able to, okay? Today, while you're gone, can we be the boss for your buddy?
Yes, you can.
And we'll take really good care of him. If he asks us for a hug, did Mommy say yes?
I said yes.
Oh, don't cry. All right. Okay, so listen to Miss Karyn again, and we'll look at Mother's eyes. So if he asks for a hug, can we give him a hug?
Yes.
All right. And if he asks for bubble gum, can we give him bubble gum?
Whoa. Yes.
We have so much bubble gum. Saying, do you like
So in this clip with this child, you can see that he trusts his mother and is deeply connected to his mother. Matter of fact, she's very tender-hearted, and at one point you heard him say, "Mama, don't cry," because he was thinking as she left him that he might cry. You can see that engagement principles are not an automatic given with this higher risk child. He's aversive to touch, he's aversive to eye contact, and he's aversive to matching. He could not come to me, and so I needed to go to him. He couldn't position his body to match me, so I moved twice to be in a position cross-legged and across from him to make eye contact. Then he couldn't give me good eyes, what we would call good eyes, but he could give me partial eyes, and I returned to him partial eyes, looking through my hand as he looked through his hand. I allowed him to take the lead, and I matched him behaviorally. In our behavioral intervention work, we would call this lowering the bar. He wasn't able to engage with me at a high level. But what we know from our work is if we can make contact at some level, we may have to lower the bar significantly for that child to be successful in getting over it. But if we can lower the bar and make an initial engagement, connection, we can quickly gain traction. And we can quickly make behavioral, emotional, and cognitive gains for this child. Now, if you were to look at 3 or 4 days into camp, as you will see later in this series of lessons, you will see him making full, sustained, joyful, respectful, valuing eye contact and connection with not only his mother, but with camp staff who he has learned to trust. Engagement principles. These are the foundation for all human relationship. Engagement principles are how we know we're seen, we're heard, we're valued. Engagement principles are how we know someone understands us and cares about us. Engagement principles set the foundation for the course of life, for trust to develop in that context, for confidence and connection to develop in that context, and finally, for learning to develop in that context. We use engagement principles in all of our interactions with children, whether we are teaching, whether we are playing, whether we're in the classroom, at the kitchen table. Engagement principles empower all that we are and all that we do with these children that have come from hard places.